Hello, welcome once again to Urban X-Files. My name is Keith and today we're going to talk about another X-File. Today's story is more of an informative one about the Anglican Cathedral, one of Liverpool's great buildings. The cathedral can take some 74 years to complete, so there were families who you would have the grandfather started work on the cathedral when it first started. Then you would find that the grandfather, his son, would start his apprenticeship there, and then before its completion you would have had 3 generations of a family of bricklayers or joinery, whatever tradesmen that whatever the trade would be. There 3 generations of families built the Anglican Cathedral. The work began sometime in 1904 and it took up until 1978 to complete. Now if you've seen the Anglican Cathedral, you understand why it took so long, because it's a phenomenal building. I will show you some nice footage of the outside of the cathedral during this video, pardon me, and I will go back when it's a nice day and I will give you a tour of the grounds of the inside of the cathedral, and also I will go around, because believe it or not, the Anglican Cathedral is built upon a place called St. James's Mount, which is a cemetery, an old cemetery from many years ago that houses many thousands of souls, or departed bodies, souls that have left the earth. And we've got quite a few celebrity, if you will, residents, like what's his name? So one of the most famous residents in St. James, now it's not called St. James's Cemetery no more, it's called St. James's Gardens. I think the most famous of all is to be William Huskinson, because he is, believe it or not, the first victim of an accident fatality to be caused by a railway train. So he was killed in Liverpool. Well, I think it was in Rainhill. He'd lost his life where the accident was. So on top of that, we've got legends that go back as far as Ginny Greenteeth. This is a famous witch that is supposed to be somewhere around, I think there's something like 57,000 graves at St. James's Cemetery. We also have Captain Eliza Lindsay Halsey from South Carolina. Kitty Wilkinson, she's an infamous person from, I think, Victorian Liverpool. So there's quite a lot of people. So going back in today's story, we're going to talk about some of the spooky sides to the cathedral and also the grounds within the cathedral. For the mount was originally found as a quarry. Now the quarry was abandoned in 1825, and it also left some sort of mini canyon, and it was filling in the used up quarry was something that was not really feasible. So the father figures of Liverpool decided to convert the excavated area into a graveyard, which they obviously in essence called St. James's Cemetery. Now, going back to sometime in the 70s, the 1970s, we have a tramp. We'll call him Jack the tramp. Was found, he woke one day and he was found in the grounds of St. James's Cemetery, and he got to his feet and went along a path that takes you to the main entrance of the cemetery. Now, when he got there, he was devastated to find the gate had been locked. So he obviously shouted out to passers-by, and they stopped to try and help. But they just walked off, assuming he was just some drunk or some lowlife, and didn't give Jack the time of day. So Jack went over to one of the other entrances or exits of the cemetery to find his way out. So he had to go back into the cemetery, and for those of you again that don't know, it can be quite an eerie place in the dark of night. So as he reluctantly travelled along the path, which also seemed to run parallel with many gravestones, and he reached the other gate, and he also found that was locked. So he stood there with darkness fast approaching, frankly terrified. So he shut the gate and shouted outside, but yet there was no passers-by. Now, thinking back, he remembered seeing that there was a gap on some of the railings that go around the side of the cemetery. So he walked off over to see it. And as Jack passed the monument of Huskinson Memorial there, he stopped to take a breath because he was pretty scared. And he heard the noise echoing behind him, so he was relieved to think that he wasn't alone in this cemetery. Well, terror soon struck when he realised his footsteps were approaching, and he noticed a shadowy figure. It was of a man who was not dressed in regular clothes of the 70s. He seemed to be wearing something that was from a Victorian attire, with a cape and a cane and a hat, dressed like something from the Victorian and Edwardian times. And this figure was limping towards him. Obviously, this figure had had some damage done to his leg, which caused him to limp. So he approached Jack, and as Jack come towards this figure, he managed to find the gap in the railings round the corner. So what he done was he went to squeeze and shimmy his way through this tiny little gap, and he managed to obviously scratch all his chest and his back, and he got through back to the world of the living. Now, what we forget, or what you may not realize, is that this memorial that he went to catch his breath before he found the exit was the monument of William Huskinson, the guy who was hit by a train, buried in St. James's Cemetery due to his injuries, which was sustained to his leg when he was hit by the train. So that would possibly be why this figure walked towards this monument, because that is his resting place. If that is, it's said to be William Huskinson. But who else goes around the cemeteries dressed in strange Victorian clothes, or Edwardian clothes for that matter? So not many people. So there is quite a few other stories we'll go in, not today, but we'll go into more, where there have been some demonic entities that have been seen lurking around the grounds of the cathedral. Not only that, we've also got the theories and the witnesses of the little spriggans or little trolls, fairy folk, that are supposed to be once home. It was once their home on St. James's Mount before it was quarried and then obviously used as a cemetery. But rumour still has it, some of these beings are still said to roam around the grounds of the cemetery. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe for more, and for those other people who have an issue, Merry Christmas. Take care, people. Thanks for watching, and